All right, Mike. We got hostage situation. You know what to do. Okay, shooter ready. Stand by. Up.
Not a hostage situation if there are no hostages.
Hey guys, today we're going to be talking about the Beretta 1301. The question is it a good combat shotgun? Well, to answer that, we'll be comparing it to many other shotguns out there, including the Benelli M4, see how it stacks up. So today on Grand Thumb, hope you'll enjoy a little discussion on the Beretta 1301. So today we're going to be talking about the Beretta 1301, but before we talk about the 1301, it's going to be important to thank a couple sponsors. So a big thank you to Brownells. Thank you, Brownells, very based. And of course, Norma Ammunition, our ammunition sponsor. Thank you for providing the ammunition. You guys rock. And finally, Zydax Computers. They are providing our gaming computers for our upcoming gaming channel, and a big thank you to them. And a quick note also, guys, we are revamping our Patreon. So if you're looking for exclusive behind-the-scenes content of me yelling at airplanes, get on that Patreon and find all that cool content. It is being run by our camera guy. Thank you, Micah. So with those things out of the way, ladies and gentlemen, may often forgotten, but most certainly not by me, Benelli M4s, the finest combat shotgun probably ever made. Welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about the Beretta 1301. Now, why do we keep talking about shotguns? Well, because we're obsessed with them, because we're American, and there is nothing more American than Americans using shotguns, especially using shotguns in combat. But to satisfy our shotgun needs, we of course have the Italians coming in with the finest Italian wares. Now, in today's video, we are going to be doing some comparison to the Benelli M4. Now, you have to understand that the Benelli M4 is a legendary combat shotgun. In the test with the Marine Corps, it went 25,000 rounds without cleaning. It is just an astounding shotgun in every way. Now, it should be also noted that the Benelli M4 has, of course, been around for a longer time. 1301 hasn't. So the question is, how does the 1301 compare? Well, let's find out. Let's go into it. So to start with, we have our barrel. Now, this cold hammer forged barrel from Beretta is extremely durable. Now, that's going to be important, especially on any type of weapon that can be expected to meet some of the toughest conditions known to mankind, whether it be combat, whether it be your basement, whatever you're doing out there. So the barrel is absolutely awesome. Now, and on top of that, you do have a choke. Now, the question is, are you going to change that choke? Probably not, because you're probably not going to shoot the shotgun. But if you do, you can change that choke, no problem. Now, moving from that barrel, which is phenomenal in every way. In fact, we've been able to make 120-yard shots with slugs pretty much no problem. We get over to the sights. Now, sights, in my mind, are very important on a shotgun because there's a pretty high probability that you'll end up using them due to the fact that on a shotgun, sights just make a lot of sense. Now, We, of course, have metal wings protecting the front sight. It's very visible, very easy to see. Now, moving back from there, we, of course, have a rear sight. Now, some people have gotten angry about the rear sight due to the use of polymer. Now, this isn't so much a problem for me. A lot of people have made comparisons to the Benelli M4 with its metal rear sight. But to be honest, as we've seen from Magpul and many other companies, long as the polymer is of good quality, you're not going to have any problems with that. And that, what's much more important to me than that is, of course, going to be the optic mount. So right here with this Picatinny mount that we have on this 1301, I have a Aimpoint T1. It has been absolutely awesome. There are other mounts out there from different companies that will allow you to co-witness your optic with your iron sights, much like we have on this Benelli M4 with the ScalarWorks mount, which, as you can see, allows you to see the iron sights through your optic. Now, of course, you can get those no problem. And in fact, this shotgun, which was modified by Langdon Tactical, does allow you to do that as an option. Now, moving from there, Langdon, on their 1301s, has included the Nordic +2 extension on their shotguns, which is needed because much like any other Italian shotgun coming in, you do have a cucked version that's coming into the United States. So with +2, we have a total of 7 in the tube. It should be noted, depending on the type of ammunition you're getting, whether it's from Turkey, gross, or somewhere else, you might not get quite 7 rounds in the tube because different shells are going to have different overall lengths, which could lead to some variability of the amount of ammunition that you can load into your shotgun. It's just the way it works, I'm sorry. But you have 7 + 1 in the chamber. Now, you can ghost load certain models of the Beretta 1301. It's a little bit more difficult. It's certainly more difficult than, say, with a Benelli M4. It is doable as a quick note. Ghost loading allows you to put a round on the shell lifter. So you have 1 in the chamber, 1 in the shell lifter, then 7 in the tube, as a quick note there. Now, moving back from there, if we come in and take a look at the actual action of the weapon, this is what I was most concerned about, but ended up not being a concern at all. The Beretta 1301 uses a blink system or a B-link system. So you can see right here that on this handguard that's been modified from Langdon that we do have the action spring that is visible. I was super worried that this would in some way make this an unreliable weapon. But to be clear, in all the rounds we fired through it, almost entirely full power slug and buck, we haven't had a single malfunction. I've hucked this thing as hard as I can into water because, I don't know, I have a problem. I'll work on it. But it's never choked up. It's a wholly reliable shotgun in every single way, and it continues to impress me. And what's really interesting, I think, about the B-Link system on the Beretta 1301 is that it does cycle faster than the Benelli M4, and we'll show a video of that right here. So you can see that the Beretta 1301 is a faster cycling weapon. Now, the question is does that matter? So I had a couple talks with both Ernest Langdon as well as Steve Fisher, both shotgun gurus. And the fact of the matter is with full power shotgun ammunition, I haven't found that I'm any faster with the 1301 than I am with the Benelli M4. And the reason for that is full power shotgun loads have a little bit of kick to them. So despite the weapon cycling faster, I'm not specifically on target faster, or I can't recover as quick because I still have that recoil to deal with, especially on the 1301, where it is a lighter weapon than the Benelli M4. So that leads me to, I don't know if it's as big of a deal. It is certainly cool, and it is certainly a reliable system, and certainly if that reliability is in no way affected by that weapon cycling faster, it's absolutely awesome. And that's what you do see with the 1301. So certainly good, just don't get too wrapped up in that faster cycling on the 1301. I think Polar Tactical at one point had a problem with outpacing his Benelli M4, but for me, I'm not made of that Slovakian goodness, so we are where we are. So at this point, we have every weapon loaded up with full power buck. What we're gonna do is we're gonna test the recoil between the Beretta 1301, the Benelli M4, and the Benelli M2. So we're gonna go ahead and start with the Beretta 1301, 3 rounds, full power buck. Not too bad at all. And finally, the Benelli M2. Nice. So, between the three, the hardest recoiling was the Benelli M2, which is a very, very light competition shotgun. So that definitely makes sense right there. Now, between the Benelli M4 and the Beretta 1301, the Benelli M4 was significantly softer in its recoil compared to the 1301. So for me, and this does come into perhaps the stock as well as other things, and the fact that I've shot the Benelli M4 a little bit more, the Benelli M4 feels a lot more controllable, and I'm able to get onto target a lot faster than I am with the Beretta 1301. Now, that's not to say that the Beretta 1301 is a hard recoiling shotgun in any way, because again, a gas-operated shotgun is a very soft shotgun. But rather to say that if we're really splitting hairs, I do find the Benelli M4 to be a soft shooting shotgun. Now, it is of course a much heavier shotgun as well, but for a quick note in comparison, you guys out there, it is definitely a little bit softer. Let's go ahead and let's get back and talk more about the shotgun. Okay, we talked about recoil, but there's a lot more to a shotgun beyond how it recoils. And what we can say about shotguns is that every time you fire a round, you got to feed a round into this guy, because this is not a magazine-fed weapon. Because of that, these are hungry, hungry hippos, and they will eat all of your ammunition. So one of the biggest things that we can talk about with a shotgun is how easy is it to feed this shotgun. And that is one way where the Beretta 1301 is in every way superior to the Benelli M4. And let's talk about that for a moment. So on this, when we want to go ahead and load it, of course on our last round, we're going to go dry and the bolt is going to lock back. At that point, we need to go ahead and take a round. We have a dummy round right here. We typically pull it off a shell carrier, such as this one from Esstac right here. So we'll go ahead and do that for you guys. So what you're going to do is you're going to pull that shell off, either go over or under, get it into that chamber, and then you're going to drop that bolt. The question is, how easy is that to do? Now on the 1301, it's quite easy because you can see right here, this bolt release, let me get that guy out there for you guys. This bolt release is oversized and huge, and you can hit it at almost any point and completely release that guy, no problem. It is very easy to hit. Now compare that to the Benelli M4. You can see how small that bolt release is. Now, of course, the fear being when these were designed is that perhaps if it was too large, you'd get accidentally bumped in combat, cause some problem. That doesn't seem to have been the case. And in fact, many people tend to modify their Benelli M4s to make this larger so that it's easier to hit. You can see on this one, once I get that shell in and hit that, it's a very small little button to hit, and it's a bit of a bitch to get to. And especially as you're shooting this thing all day and you're going through a shooting course or LARPing, or whether it's end of the world and you're just smoking Tusken Raiders, I don't know what the hell you're doing. The 1301 is a far easier weapon to keep fed, in my opinion, than the Benelli M4. Now, on top of that, let's take a look at the actual tube, loading in the tube. So Mike, if you want to come up here and take a look at this. So the controls are a little bit different from many of your semi-auto shotguns that you see out there. So as we start loading this, you can see how wide and beveled that entry point is for all of our shotgun shells. That makes it significantly easier to get this loaded than it is on any other weapon out there. So I've been really having a good time when getting this thing loaded. In fact, quad loading is quite easy on this, and you can't typically out of the gate do quad loads on Benelli M4s. Well, you can, but it's a little bit difficult. So in every way, the Beretta 1301 to me is a superior weapon for keeping the weapon fed, which is incredibly important on a shotgun. So you really have to give it up to Beretta for out of the gate coming out with a really good system. Now that also comes into the charging handle itself. If you take a look at the charging handle, shaped very odd, and it looks very odd, but it's a very ergonomic system to work with. And I ended up liking it quite a bit when it comes to the Beretta 1301. So you can also see on the 1301 right here that we have M-LOK on this modified Magpul handguard. Now, that allows you to put a match saver on there. So a match saver, as you can see on this Benelli M2, right there, you're able to put a shell in so that when your weapon is locked back, you can simply slide that shell out and then drop and be back up in the match, save the match, or possibly save your life. Now, the problem with the Benelli M4 has always been that under these handguards, there is not a lot of room due to the dual pistons. And because of that, it's very difficult to modify it to a point where you're able to get a match saver in there. Now, if we compare that to the Beretta 1301, due to the way it is made, it is much easier to get that match saver in there, which is a great thing to have on a shotgun because, again, you got to keep this thing fed, and it's just easier. It's just a better system, in my opinion. Now, another note as well is when you have a round in the tube right here, so make sure that's good. Cool. So if you notice, I do have a round in the tube right now, but I have nothing in the chamber. And you notice that as I rack it, that nothing is happening. Now, this is a feature a lot of people get really confused when it comes to a semi-auto shotgun about precisely how that's working. So let me explain to you how that works right here. So right now, I have a round in the chamber, and we have one in the tube. Now, the idea being that if I wanted to change the round out, because what makes shotguns so compelling in many ways is that you can easily change up the job that they're made for. So we have buckshot in there. If we need a slug to make a longer shot, all you have to do is rack that round out. And even if you release it, you're not going to rack that next one in. You can then pull a slug off your carrier, get that charging handle back, get it in, and now you have a slug in your weapon ready to go. So that is why that feature is made that particular way, much like many other combat semi-auto shotguns that are out there currently. So another thing that people are going to ask about is going to be the shell carrier. So this is from Esstac, and the whole point of it is that you can easily switch out either your ammunition or what you have on there, and it's Velcro, it's very easy to use, and they fit in M4 magazine pouches, and they are awesome. So people always ask me about them. This is who makes them, and I think they are absolutely incredible. Now, moving back from there, we of course have the safety. Now, the safety on the 1301 is quite easy to actuate, much like many others. I know some people like the thumb safeties up here. I do like the crossbolt safety. It's simple. Now, with that being said, we'll do what we always do, and we'll ghost trigger together. So the one thing I will say for the 1301 is the trigger on this guy is crazy light and crazy good. So for the first time ever, ghosting that shotgun trigger together. All right, so feeling into it, make sure we have the safety off. All right, we have no play, a little bit of creep, about 1 millimeter, 2, 3, and about let off. And that's maybe 3 pounds. That is so light. Okay, reset right there. That is a light trigger. Now compare that directly to the Benelli M4. So similarly, just that wall right away, and about a 3.5. Let's go ahead and feel that one more time. A reset right there. And they are similar, but I will just give the edge to the Beretta, but you have to say it for them. That is a nice trigger on a shotgun right there. From there, we're going back to the stock. Now, I'm not a big fan of how the Magpul stock works, but it should be noted at how functional they are. So with your typical shotgun stocks, not pistol grip stocks, but say if we take a look at this Benelli M2 stock right there, the angle is a little bit more severe on this Magpul stock. And the reason for that, especially when you start getting into more complex positions, kneeling, going in prone, on those more traditional stocks, you have a tendency to nail yourself in the face with your thumb, especially for my guys who have normal man-sized hands. So with this angle, that doesn't happen. So although I don't like the way it looks, it is a very functional stock. So how does the Beretta 1301 stack up? Well, we have to consider a couple things. One, it's much less expensive than the Benelli M4. So we're looking at about $1,000 to $1,300. On top of that, it is also a solid 2 pounds lighter than the Benelli M4. Now, the recoil is a little bit more stout, but I think overall you have a really compelling shotgun. Now, it's harder to say whether this is a superior shotgun because the Benelli M4 has been through so much testing, but I think that we're going to see a lot more in terms of both support and probably military adoption when it comes to the 1301 in the very near future. So you really have to give it up to them for putting together a really good combat shotgun, which brings us right into the con, which is when it comes to the shotgun, the only two things that really come to mind are, one, going to be the accessories. There just really isn't a lot out there. And then two, it's going to be that recoil. It's a little bit more stout than the Benelli M4. So which shotgun is correct for you? I can't answer that for you. You're gonna have to get out there, you're gonna have to try both out. But the fact of the matter is that no matter which shotgun you choose, you're gonna suck equally with both because you haven't been training. Make sure that you train. Without training, you're gonna absolutely suck with this. But if you train with this, this is an extremely violent and well put together weapon system. So get out there, get training. Final note for you guys also when it comes to this guy. A lot of people ask me, is this a short barreled shotgun? No, it's normal size. It just looks a little bit small. Final note for you guys. AR and AK guys, you deserve each other. Be friends.